All right, marketing students, welcome. Today, we're going to break down maybe the most important strategic framework you'll ever learn: segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Seriously, if you can master this, you'll understand how basically any brand, from a giant like Nike to your local coffee shop, actually finds its people in a super noisy world.
So let's just start with this huge question. You're looking at a world with nearly 8 billion potential customers. Every single one is different. So how on earth does one brand, just one company, even begin to make a real connection? It kind of feels impossible, right?
Well, the answer is a little weird, a bit counterintuitive. You don't win by grabbing a megaphone and shouting at the whole crowd. No way. You win by finding the right little group and whispering the perfect message just for them. It's not about being the loudest. It's about making sense to the right somebody.
Okay, so how do we find those right people? That's where this incredibly powerful three-step model comes in. It's basically the strategic roadmap for every smart marketer out there. It's called the STP framework.
And this diagram from your book, Figure 3.1, this is that roadmap in action. Just follow the flow. You start with segmentation, where you slice up the big market. That lets you move on to targeting, where you pick your group. And that choice tells you everything about your positioning, which is how you talk to them. See how it all flows together into that final box? A real cohesive marketing plan.
When you lay it out, it's actually a pretty simple logical process. Step 1, divide the market into groups that make sense. Step 2, choose the group or groups that you can serve better than anyone else. And finally, Step 3, figure out exactly how to position your product so it's a perfect fit for them. All right, let's jump into that first step.
Okay, Step 1, segmentation. This is the bedrock, the foundation for everything else. You can think of it like this. You're taking this huge, messy, chaotic market and you're just sorting it, putting it into neat, understandable piles. You're trying to answer one basic question: who exactly is out there? So why even bother with all this sorting? Well, this diagram lays it out perfectly. Look at that circle in the middle, market segmentation benefits. Everything good flows from there, right? When you understand a smaller group better, you can satisfy customers on a deeper level. That helps you differentiate your brand, which in turn leads to real results, like growing your market share and, of course, improving your profitability. It all connects.
Now, the key word here, the one you really need to remember, is homogeneous. The whole point is to create these little submarkets where the people inside are similar to each other in some important way. They have similar needs, similar attitudes, similar buying habits. Because if they're similar, they're probably going to react to your marketing in a similar way. And that's predictable. That's powerful.
So how do we actually do this slicing and dicing? Well, marketers have 5 main tools in their toolbox. You've got demographics, that's the who, age, gender, income. Geographics, that's the where. But then you get to the really interesting stuff: psychographics, behavioral, and benefits sought. That's where you start digging into the why and the how people buy.
Let's zoom in on psychographics for a second. Because honestly, this is where marketing stops being just a science and starts becoming a bit of an art. It's about getting past the simple facts about a person and really digging into why they do what they do. We're not just looking at their age anymore. We're trying to understand what they value, what motivates them, what their whole lifestyle is about.
And this is a fantastic example of psychographics at work. Check out this table from Nielsen. They call it the green divide. Notice what it's not based on: age, income, location, none of that. Instead, it segments people purely based on their feelings about the environment. At one end, you've got the skeptics, and all the way at the other, you have the evangelists. Now imagine you're the marketer for Patagonia. Which piece of information is more useful to you, knowing a customer is 35 or knowing they're an evangelist? It's not even a contest.
Okay, so you've done all that work. You've created these clear, well-defined segments. Now comes the hard part, the moment of decision: targeting. This is step 2, where you have to choose which of those groups you're actually going to go after. You can't be everything to everyone, so you have to ask, which group are we going to focus on?
And this diagram shows you the range of choices you have. Just follow that arrow from left to right. Over on the far left, you have undifferentiated mass marketing. Think of a classic Coke ad from the 80s that was meant for literally everyone. But as you move to the right, toward the narrow end, you get more focused. You see things like differentiated or concentrated niche marketing. And then way over on the right, you get down to the individual level. What strategy you pick really depends on your product, your budget, and what you're trying to achieve.
So to make that target segment you've chosen feel less like a statistic and more like a real person, marketers do this really cool thing. They create a buyer persona. It's basically a fictional character, a composite sketch of your ideal customer. You give them a name, a face, a backstory, you bring them to life.
Just look at this example persona for the affluent aspirational. This is so much more powerful than a spreadsheet of data, right? Look under frustrations. It says she doesn't know where to get educated financial advice. Then look in motivations. For her, wealth is an indicator of success. When you turn data into a story like this, you suddenly get this deep, empathetic understanding of her. And that lets you create marketing that actually helps solve her problems.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. The digital bank Chime zeroed in on the gig worker segment. They knew their pain points inside and out. Unpredictable income, needing everything on their phone, and absolutely hating bank fees. This quote here is basically their entire targeting strategy in one sentence, speaking directly to that persona they built.
All right, time for the final piece of the puzzle, positioning. If segmentation was the who and targeting was the which, then positioning is the all-important how. So you've picked your audience. Now how do you plant the perfect idea of your brand right inside their brain? It's all about earning a specific, unique, and desirable spot in their mind.
A really great positioning strategy has to do two things at the same time. First, it needs to establish its points of parity, or POPs. These are the must-haves, the table stakes, the features you need just to even be in the game. But you win with your points of differentiation, your PODs. This is the stuff that makes you unique, what makes you better than everybody else. A positioning map like this one is one of the most powerful tools you can have. Just look at the axes. You've got price going from low to high, and style going from chemical to natural. You can immediately see where everyone is playing. Down in that low price, chemical corner, it's a total street fight between brands like Maybelline. But then, look up at the top right. See Lush? They've carved out this beautiful, unique, much less crowded space for themselves. By choosing to be a high-price, natural brand, they're not even competing with those other guys.
And this quote from Fenty Beauty is just a masterclass in a positioning statement. Let's break it down real quick. The target? For underrepresented, younger, less affluent consumers. The point of differentiation? Offers 40 shades of foundation. The ultimate benefit? Ensuring its diverse customer base enjoys the luxury of beauty. It's so simple, so powerful, and it perfectly captures their unique spot in the market.
So, here's the big takeaway. The STP model isn't just some abstract theory from a textbook. It's a real, practical, actionable framework. It's the path that takes a company from a fuzzy idea about a huge market to a sharp, focused, and powerful brand that actually connects with the right people. And I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. We've just spent all this time talking about how important it is to group people into segments, but with technology and AI getting so good that we can personalize marketing to a single individual, what happens to the whole idea of a segment? Is it becoming obsolete? Are we moving toward a future of millions of segments of one? That's something for you, as the future leaders in this field, to really think about.